going to conquer and we're going to take some. Is that understood? Yes, sir. That's what we're going to do, sweetheart. We are going to go and get some. All right, people, on the ready line. Are you me? Yeah! Are you me? Yeah! What are you?
Ronald and Lisa Starks met with EP Magazine to share the story of their 4-year-old son, Jeremiah Jerry Starks, who has cerebral palsy. Jeremiah is the youngest and only son in the Starks family. Most remarkable is Jeremiah's character, and how contagious his happiness is to those around him. Sign up and read informative articles for free about autism and other disabilities at www.epmagazine.com.
Monotony. It comes in all shapes and sizes. Dull, tedious, just plain boring. But what is this? A contender, perhaps? Something unboring by the looks of it. Jabs right at dull, an uppercut to tedium, something that keeps you on your toes, keeps your head on a swivel, a knockout punch to your old, boring workouts. Welcome to Fight Camp.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of REITs Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, 2 Lives at Once. And with every REIT you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. 2 Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, 2 lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to REITsAcrossAmerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's REITsAcrossAmerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
I remember a time when I was in a not so good place, and these games and these activities and being able to come and have the camaraderie that we have here, it makes me feel like I'm not alone. There are people here that have been through what I've been through. It makes me feel like I don't know, I'm part of something great.
Just let yourself go. Give it a try.
Hello and welcome to Oscar Mike Radio. I am truly Oscar Mike. I'm not in Boston. I'm not anywhere. I'm not in parts unknown. I'm in Washington, D.C. at the Elizabeth Dole 10th Annual Convening. And you may have seen my interview with Michael Corman, Navy Seabee. Well, now I'm joined by another Navy veteran. Joseph Kavanagh is going to tell us about his fellowship time and what that means to him with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. Joseph, welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
Yes, good morning, Tyler.
It's afternoon. It's a blur at this point.
Yeah, it is a blur. I'm sorry. My name is Joseph Kavanagh, as you've already said, and I am a 2025 Elizabeth Dole Fellow. I'm a caregiver for my wife, Jerry, who is a Navy hospital corpsman, who was injured in the line of duty while taking care of patients at Groton Naval Hospital.
That's Groton is in the sub-base.
As in the sub-base in Groton. Her first injury was in 1991, She was outside the hospital helping out a patient because, you know, they transport obviously patients to the hospital and you've got to get them in and out. Well, she slid on some ice and she fell and she dislocated her shoulder forward and she conked the back of her head. So that was TBI number 1. The shoulder, however, that required 3 separate surgeries, 2 separate procedures, and in the course of her 5 years in the Navy, about 2 years of physical therapy to basically leave her with no feeling in her right hand, but at least the muscle tone and stuff to be able to use it. The thing about the Elizabeth Dole Foundation that impresses me so much, and I literally got to meet my hero, Elizabeth Dole, last night, was the fact that Senator Bob Dole had a similar condition that he had from World War II, where the main nerve group in the arm was damaged, and that's why Senator Dole walked around with a pen in his hand all those years. Well, my wife would carry a portfolio or something else because she really has very limited use of her arms. She had to go with, you know, forward clutching bras, and I mean, there were a lot of things just on the arm business to begin with.
As a doc,
right,
you had to fix, you know, Marines and sailors, but it must be a different thing having to take care of your wife like this 24/7.
I actually was, yes, I did do first-hand patient care for a while, and then I ended up in a very specialized path in the Navy where I actually did autopsies and plane crash investigations.
That's a thing?
Yeah, that really is a thing. I was a histopathology tech, of which there were 42 in the Navy, and when I was in, we never got above an end strength of 26. I spent most of my time when I was in that career field at the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology in Washington, D.C. at the old Walter Reed. And anyway, but I was essentially also with the Office of the Armed Forces Medical Examiner. But yes, I had basic patient care experience, but you know, then I dealt a lot with decedent affairs. So I dealt with a lot of really hot button topics that were really emotionally difficult to deal with. And you're right, I eventually, because my wife then encountered a second traumatic brain injury and started losing her short-term memory. The reason I was sort of glad that my job was I was detached from patients is because I thought I was going to end up with compassion fatigue if I was taking care of others at work and then coming home and taking care of her.
For sure, for sure. You know, we're at the Elizabeth Dole 10th Annual Convening. Give us a sense of, I've asked Michael Corman this question, who's also going to become a fellow. What was life like before the Elizabeth Dole Foundation and you all connected?
Okay, this is going to sound strange. I have actually been affiliated in one way or another with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation since its very, very beginnings.
Really?
One of the 2015 fellows and myself were talking yesterday. I have known her online near 10 years. And the funny part about it is we finally met in person for the very first time. She's from Texas and I'm from Oklahoma. Of course, those are very wide apart because of Texas. We had never met in person, but she was an amazing support and model for me for many years, especially since it's Roxana Delgado and the TBI Foundation, along with her husband, Victor. Well, my wife had a TBI. Well, she had 2 TBIs, as a matter of fact. So they were a wonderful resource, and she's just been wonderfully supportive. And she's told me a couple of times over the years I should apply to be a fellow. Well, my son's now 25, and my daughter's turning 21. My son's an EMT, and he's a dive med tech, and he's just finishing his last 2 weeks of clinicals to be a paramedic. So in my mind, he's there because he's already working ambulances and has been for 5 years. And my daughter's a nursing student, probably because they grew up having to take care of mom. But, you know, honestly, I wanted to devote some time to them when they were younger, because with mom's brain injury, the family was frazzled a lot. Because mom would say to do something, and then mom would forget she said that. Or, you know, mom is a wonderful human being. Obviously, we'll be married 30 years in December. Yes, and I've been her caregiver for since 1990. Well, a little bit earlier than that. But she really didn't need a caregiver while she was in the Navy, but she left the Navy in '95, and I have been her caregiver and her provider for medical care and otherwise since she was put out of the Navy. And what was funny was they originally med boarded her, and then they lost the med board, and she was within a month of getting out anyway. So the military, well, we're not going to go through the med board procedures again anyway. So you know what? Get out, take it up with the VA, of which she did. Just wow.
Well, no, just I have a thought here. I just want to share with you this completely off topic, but you'll understand.
Right.
In this world of broken marriages, families, so on and so forth, you can get jaded to think that love is not real, Joseph. But I hear a story like that, and it gives me hope that, you know what, maybe when people who come before God and man say till death do us part, maybe there's still some hope out there. If nothing else, I just want you to know that really hit me right here.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, and then I will share this too.
Sure.
This is sort of a funny thing. I'm originally from New York, and my wife is originally from Wyoming. So you have somebody from one of the most populated states and then the least populated states who did not even know we were both in the Navy until after we started talking, because we met on a train in Chicago. That was the first time. And then we were assigned to different commands. And 2 years later, we bumped into each other at the McDonald's at the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, now Walter Reed. But anyway, at the McDonald's there. And I'm standing in line. She turns around, she looks at me, and she turns to her roommate and says, I know that guy. I overheard it, and I said, yeah, you know me. We were friends in Great Lakes. And, in a good way, it was the date that never ended. And 2 years later, we were married. Now, the irony was the first time we met, because I found it out because it was my buddy's birthday, who I was hanging out when I met my wife, was December 8th. The second time we met was December 8th. And ironically enough, I had done a year in the reserve, so I had left active duty. She was being discharged and I was being recalled. We got married on December 8th. So I really believe, yes, there is a thing as love, and apparently ours is eternal.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things you talked about was the support you got from the foundation before you even came on board.
Absolutely.
And coming here today to D.C. and listening to some of the breakout talks, there is this current of support throughout all the fellows. Some of these orgs, if you're 2025, 2025, 6, you all might not ever meet. But it's very interesting to me that all the fellows are there in force and there to support other people. How's the support been from the foundation once you became on board, Joseph?
Everybody has been more than wonderful. Due to my son finishing his paramedic program and my wife liking stability, I was able to bring my wife along with me. So she's staying with me in the hotel. And since she was assigned here in D.C. with me as well, she knows the area, so she's comfortable with that. So I'm comfortable with leaving her for some time during the day, and we communicate, obviously, text a lot. But the foundation was totally supportive of that. They were also very supportive of the fact that I had to drive because, number one, my wife. But the other kink in this was I had to make a stop at the VA in Nashville along the way because I needed to get some blood tests done. Because the kicker of all of this is, and I'm not blaming my wife at all, but having been a caregiver, I neglected my health for a number of years. And it caught up with me last year.
Oh, wow.
And my son stepped in while I was unable to be there in person, but I was handling the finances. But I spent 322 days, 23 days of 2024 in a hospital bed, 280 of them in the intensive care unit, because my liver went from perfectly healthy to dead in 9 months. Partly because of metabolic things, partly because of having been exposed to hazardous chemicals in the military. And I was listed for a liver transplant the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving at 9 o'clock at night, and I was made aware at 4 o'clock in the morning to Friday morning after Thanksgiving that they had a match for me, despite the fact that I was O negative and I had some rare things going on. 28 hours on the list. We figured it out total because by the time they got the report in after the 9 o'clock to when it was a total of 28 hours on the list. Doc comes in and he goes, well, unfortunately, we have a brain deceased individual, but we have a healthy young liver for you. But there are 5 other organs we need to harvest. We're going to do your surgery on November 30th. And they did, and the transplant surgeon said that if they had not, I would have been dead in 48 hours. So the scariest thing in my life was the fact that I have this, I'm sorry, now I'm going to sound corny, this eternal love. And I swear the only thought that went through my mind was, my God, what's going to happen to my wife with this brain injury who needs support and
Right, all this care.
and, you know, a stable environment if I die. And, you know, okay, I'm not pushing my religion on anybody, but the bottom line is 2 people in this universe have died for me in the course of my life. One died and saved my life, the other died and saved my immortal soul. And the bottom line is some young donor, apparently, and they kept saying young. And that's all they tell you, by the way. You can't find out anything more until a year after the transplant. But some young person saved my life and enabled me to continue taking care of my wife.
Well, I mean, if we're going with this faith-based approach, and I certainly believe that God is real, then you were saved for a purpose, and maybe this purpose is going to be further, you know, advocacy, further support for other fellows coming behind you.
I believe it is. And, you know, the funny thing was I was 13 days post-transplant, and they threw me out at a hospital because I was already walking a mile a day. And on day 4, I was already off of pain.
Did you have clean socks?
I most certainly did. I made sure I had a pack of the Spalding 30s, no-shows, just because I could buy them
in bulk,
prepaid in bulk. You've got it, man. Now,
no. Just we're running close on time. A guy asked this question. I asked all corpsmen this question. So you had the clean socks.
Right.
I've had multiple corpsmen tell me to drink a gallon of water a day.
I do that. I
Okay.
have to, because kidneys are vulnerable after a liver transplant. You have got to keep hydrated, otherwise my
So
kidneys will
keep pound
shut
of water.
down.
I should.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then the last one you're going to ask me about is Motrin. And guess what? I can't take it. I am allowed one 325 Tylenol every 6 hours if I needed it for pain, but beyond that, I'm not allowed any other pain pills because of the transplant.
Well, you know, I've got to have you back on because I really want to unpack more in depth of what we have here. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk with you. I have to think, though, looking through the program, looking through the other panels we've had this morning, and the VA Secretary this is something, this caregiver aspect, something that we don't hear enough of. What can veterans like myself and other people do to help you all in your caregiver journey?
Just understand.
Understand?
You know, because I'm going to be honest with you as well, and I'm not trying to make it about me, but I've almost been one of the 22 because there are times that in my caregiver journey, I knew that my wife and my children relied on me, but it was so hard. And I've had Marines tell me, "Come on, Doc, you know, you do something, and it's gonna go through the entire community." They were like, "Doc, you got to keep talking, because when Doc shuts up, it means something bad's going to happen."
Yeah.
So, you know, these now are my people with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, and I found a family there. And I also have a brotherhood and sisterhood of they also know support me. So the biggest thing is we support each other. And, you know, I am taking care of a disabled vet, and there are times she feels bad because, you know, honestly, she was a peacetime person. But her job in the military and how she got injured was because she was still trying to save lives. She was caring for not only the airmen, soldiers, Marines, sailors, Coast Guardsmen, and now, of course, Space Force, but she was taking care of those people and their families. And it's now time for other people to take care of us and our families.
Absolutely, absolutely. Self-care to me is a real central theme with everything I've heard today from this convening. So I want to thank you for coming on and talking with me, Joseph. I want to have you back on when we have more time to go over things, but this has just been a really impactful conversation. A lot of times the short ones really hit you in the gut, and I really think that this is going to connect with people who really don't understand what you're going through. Thank you so much.
And I appreciate your time and your consideration, sir. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I appreciate you all in the audience.
So we're Oscar Mike here at the Elizabeth Dole Foundation's convening, and we have more on the way.
The biggest fear Gold Star families have that their child will be forgotten.
We need to never forget freedom wasn't free.
It's the fact that they give us the life we have now. We should remember them and give thanks to them.
If I can be a part of something today that's going to make the surviving family of any of these veterans, these heroes, feel better tomorrow, then it's worth it.
That one wreath symbolizes one family that was able to smile because of the generous donations.
To sponsor a wreath and honor a veteran, visit wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinista One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.